Hey friends, I'm back with another book-filled video. Today I'm going to be sharing some books that I recently read as well as books that are on my TBR in order to keep myself a bit more organized and on track because we are filming this during nap time, so we got to make the most of it. I do have my notes pulled up here. Alright, so the first book that I want to talk about is one that I actually finished at the end of June, and although it doesn't technically fit within the realm of a July reading wrap-up, this book is one that I really enjoyed, and I do plan on continuing reading the series, so I feel like it's worth mentioning, and it is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. When I did a quick Google search, young adult was coming up under this whole trilogy. I don't necessarily agree with that. I do think that there is a more adult approach, but I could see a younger version of myself enjoying this book as well. So just something to keep in mind. This is book one of a trilogy, but there are 7 titles in total throughout the whole series, including the prequel, which is The Son of Ares. So I'm not sure what the recommended reading order is. I'm assuming the order of publication would be the best route to go, but if you've read the series and you have any opinions on that, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. This book definitely made me think of Hunger Games, but I don't want to put that in your mind and have it take away from what the story is. This story follows Darrow, the male main character, and he is a Red, which is the lowest class of a color-coded society. He lives his life working underground. It's for the purpose and the future and the betterment of civilization on the surface of Mars. As part of the Red class, he is just being pushed to his limits in order to make a very, very meager living, if that at all. He learns, though, that the higher classes are already thriving on the surface of Mars. He is then fueled by his wife's wish for him to live for more, and he basically undergoes a transformation into a higher class elite, which is gold, and gets put into this mission of infiltrating the Institute. I personally didn't even read the blurb on this book before reading it, so when I found out that, all of the work that he'd been doing underground was a lie, I was surprised, but that, I promise, that is not a spoiler. I personally rank this book 4 out of 5 stars, and 5 stars for me is just the highest rating I could possibly give any book. There are very few books that I have ranked 5 stars, and maybe I can do another video about that, but 4 stars is still a pretty darn good ranking in my personal review system. And there were just some moments, like Darrow's carving / transformation into a gold, that I wish were a little bit more descriptive, because Brown's writing can be very succinct and concise, but I think that really helps move the story forward, and there is a lot going on in that first book, and I can't wait to read the next in the series. I'm already on the wait list on the Libby app. The next book I want to talk about is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, and I also read this through the Libby app on my Kindle. This is a fantasy novel with some subgenres of gothic, paranormal, and there is romance. I like that there is a romance subplot. This book follows female main character Opal, who is essentially a girl that had to grow up too fast in order to become a parent for her brother. She lost her mom in an accident, which the book goes into, so I will do my best not to give too much away about that, but she is essentially put in a position where she's putting her own wants and dreams aside for getting her brother to where he needs to go in life. Yet despite her best efforts, there are dreams that she is constantly having about this particular house, and it's the Starling House. And this is a haunted piece of property in this small town that a lot of rumors and mysteries surround. When she meets its only occupant and warden, Arthur, and is offered a house cleaning job, Opal decides to take it, and from there a lot of the town's I don't want to say best kept secrets, but some secrets that they've kept under wraps for a really long time start to surface. And again, without spoiling too much, Opal and Arthur find themselves in a position where they may have to work together to bring an end to this town's unending stream of bad luck and tragedy. I was a bit confused at first with the footnotes that are scattered throughout the book, but as I got more comfortable with the structure, I started to pick up a good pace and I couldn't put the book down. There were a lot of laugh out loud moments in this book, which I think help balance some of the darker themes that we come across. And I, of course, became very invested in Opal and Arthur's story. All in all, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm very excited to dive into Alex E. Harrow's backlog. I've already added some books on my little TBR tag on Libby. I did pick up a physical copy of the book on Book Outlet, so I'll have links again in the description box below. I couldn't help myself. It was a good price, and because I enjoyed the book and ranked it so high, 4 out of 5 stars. For me, that is reason for it to be here in my own little library. The next book that I want to talk about is a nonfiction parenting book. A bit of change of pace for the fiction books that we've been talking about. The Montessori Baby by Simone Davies and Junifa Uzudike. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that. Please feel free to jump in the comments with correct pronunciation. This book I kind of picked up on a whim, and I have heard about the Montessori method just in passing, but I've never done a deep dive into what the beliefs and the concepts are before reading this book, and it was very enlightening. I found it very easy to read, and I think that's because, one, the way that the book is formatted, the way it's written, it's very approachable, which is nice because as a parent, first-time parent for me, it's kind of overwhelming with all the information that's out there. So I liked the way that this book was structured. It was very easy to digest, and I think that the ideals that were presented are already close, if not fully aligned and matching with what my husband and I have talked about how we would like to parent. I guess I should take a breath and take a step back to share that if you're not familiar with Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori believes that babies, even from birth, are so incredibly capable, more than we might give them credit for. And if we allow them the right opportunities and an environment that can encourage that growth, they will flourish. In this book, we work down the timeline from conception all the way to baby's first year of life, and discussing how these ideals and practices from Montessori can be easily integrated within your home, like starting now. And I love that. Things that can be put into practice right away. While I found myself nodding in agreement with a lot of the things this book was saying, it also challenged me to reflect on what kind of parent I am and what kind of parent I want to be, and how I might start making those changes at home. So if you're a parent, you might find this book interesting. And I'm still unsure if I feel it's appropriate to rate nonfiction books, but I decided to give this book 4 out of 5 stars. And that wraps up my little reading log for this past month. I am filming this a little bit ahead of the end of the month so that I have a buffer to edit and all of that. So there is potential for a few more books to make it onto this list, but I'll just share it in next month's wrap up. We will talk about them though. I was very close to finishing the audiobook Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling, narrated by Jim Dale. This is a little bit of a frustrating situation that I have run into before, and that's my loan for the book expiring on Libby before I get to the end, and I only had maybe 20% left. Unfortunately, my husband and our baby got sick, so we weren't doing very much other than resting. Thankfully, everybody's feeling better now. I did get back on the wait list for this book, so hopefully by next month I can say that we finished it. I have been going through and enjoying the entire Harry Potter series again with my child, and it's been really nice. I haven't read the books since I was, gosh, in high school. I mean, I started reading them in elementary school. I don't know how long it took for all the books to come out. Maybe I finished it before high school. The timeline's a little bit fuzzy, but I had never had the pleasure of listening to the audiobooks, and my goodness, what a wonderful experience. I highly recommend it. The narration is so beautifully done, the voices and the personality, and of course Harry Potter for me is just one of those top tier books. Can't say enough good things about the audiobook, so I'm excited to finish up the Half-Blood Prince and then complete the series with book number 7. I have been posting quite a few updates over on my Instagram stories about where I'm at with my current TBR. I found myself reading as many as 5 books at one time, which is so unlike me. I feel like I've always been the type of reader that is focused on one book. Even if it's different genres, I feel committed to, we must focus on this one book, and then I can turn my focus and attention to another. I don't know. I think the best place to start would be picking up from the Montessori Baby. There is the Montessori Toddler book that follows it, and I think after that the Montessori Child. So I do plan on reading those 3 books. I think there might even be the Montessori Teen, but I don't imagine that I need to read that far this soon. But I am about 5% of the way through on the Montessori Toddler on my Kindle. It's a book that I actually haven't picked up in a couple days, so I feel like I can't speak too much on it, but everything that I said about the Montessori Baby is why I feel like I want to read the next book, the Montessori Toddler. There is one more nonfiction book that I did start reading, and that is On Writing by Stephen King. I don't have any notes written down on it because I have just recently started it. This is the first Stephen King book that I'm reading, and I don't know if that's blasphemy. I do plan on reading his books. I just haven't done it yet, and for whatever reason, I decided that On Writing would be a great place to start. I'm only 9% of the way through. The King. What else can I say? If you have a recommendation of where to start with his books before diving into his vast catalog, please let me know in the comment section below. I think for a lot of readers, you probably start out reading his books and then maybe make your way to his memoir of the craft of writing. But here I am being backwards about it and starting here. So I think it'll give me good insight as to how he approaches his books, and then I'll experience his books. I'll report back on that. I also have been trying to read, and it's been a lot of start and stop, to be honest. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I got this copy off of Book Outlet. This is a young adult fantasy, and it's dual POV, follows characters Kazi and Jace. They are sort of at odds in this particular world, coming from 2 different lands. I haven't gotten too far. I left off on page 136, and there are 500-ish books. 500 pages in this book. I'm so tired. I haven't been getting much sleep. That's beside the point. I am enjoying the story so far. The reasons as to why I haven't made that much progress are, one, because I had designated this as my day reading book, so I would have just this quick little pocket of time before baby goes down for a nap that I would utilize to read a physical book. I've also decided to go ahead and start annotating. So it's a bit difficult to take notes while I'm nursing. I haven't figured out a good system for that. So essentially I've been tabbing parts that I want to go back and write little notes on. So that's what I'm doing right now. And that's slowing down a little bit of my progress here. This book is part of a duology. The next book is Vow of Thieves, so there's still quite a bit of story to dive into. And the last reason why my progress has been snail speed reading this book is because of the current system I have for picking books, and that is to have at least one book on my Kindle and one physical book, although by this current TBR you can tell that there are more than that. The next book that became available on my Libby app was Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I put up a poll on Instagram and YouTube to find out which of the 3 books that I currently got bumped up on the waitlist for I should read next. And when I checked the polls, Powerless was in the lead, but I think the next time I checked it, Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson and what was it? The Secret Society by Donna Tartt. Those were in the lead. However, I had already started reading Powerless, and about 40% of the way through, I found out that it could be tandem read with the novella, which is powerful. So I ordered the physical copy. I didn't want to wait 10 more weeks on the Libby app and then have this current loan expire and then have to wait for the 2 loans to sync up. It just seemed like a lot of work. So there it is, Powerless and Powerful by Lauren Roberts. And you know what's interesting is that Powerless and Dance of Thieves both have swords on the cover. I found myself getting a little confused reading these 2 at the same time. So I think that's why I kind of had to just pick and choose. I'll be sharing more of my feelings in the next wrap up once I've finished the 2, but I can say that I can see why people like it. It's hard to say what will be next on my Kindle TBR because my primary source for ebooks is Libby, and I'm just on a bunch of wait lists. So it's really in the hands of the Libby gods as to what I will read in this upcoming month on my Kindle, other than finishing The Montessori Toddler and On Writing by Stephen King. And I think I'm going to do another video with a book haul, but I recently visited a neighboring little free library and I picked up these 3 books. So these are high up on my current TBR because I want to be able to enjoy them and then return them so that the next reader can have a go at it. So I picked up Before We Were Innocent by Ella Berman, and this seems like a murder mystery. It says that these 2 best friends spent a summer in Greece and one of their friends dies. I also decided to pick up Fahrenheit 451. I don't think I've ever read this, but I believe that I should. I also saw that the Little Free Library had this copy of The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Heard great things about this and her book Circe. Hopefully going to be my next couple of reads within the next month. Thanks so much for chatting with me about books today. If you want to check out any of the titles that I mentioned, feel free to pop in the description box below. Also want to thank you for your patience as I try to gain some traction and reacclimate to posting. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram. I've been posting a lot on stories as well as kind of tickling TikTok with a few pieces here and there. In any case, with so much love and gratitude, I will catch you in the next one.